Gotta get that. Gotta get that no combination right there, baby. We'll wait for a few people to get in here before we get started. What up? What up? If you guys are joining the stream, sign in to the comment section, man. Let me know you're here. Let me know who you are. We'll wait a couple more minutes to see who joins in. If you have social media, share this on your socials. See if we can have a good conversation about the destruction that was FSU over LSU Sunday night in prime time. Man, I feel like I haven't even been to sleep yet. Crazy. That's why I got my trusty coffee mug here. What up? What up? Thank you guys for checking in, man. Like this right here so we can get it out there to more people. And let me know who's here. I see we got people coming in. I can't wait to get back to rewatch the game. I haven't had a chance to rewatch the game. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff that I missed, but looking forward to. I'll probably rewatch it later today. Hopefully, if they have a condensed version on the YouTube channel there. Usually they'll post a condensed version where you can watch it pretty quickly and kind of see what was what. I have a general idea of who played well and what needs to be fixed and all that good stuff. But it's hard to catch everything in real time, especially when you're rooting as a fan and all that good stuff. Yeah. But we'll go ahead and get started, man. And look, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. I'll take any questions or whatnot as we move right along here. But yeah, what a big win for FSU football. Welcome to the Book for Playmaker YouTube channel. I'm Kelvin Hunt, editor of ChopChat.com. If you guys didn't know, have already put up a ton of content on the page over there this morning. So you can go over there and check some of that out. Talked about the impact on recruiting. Talked about, some major takeaways from the game. And again, just in real time, my thoughts on that. What's up, FSU Tony? Hey man, no doubt, man. Hey, welcome to the channel, man. I appreciate your support. Huge win for the Noles. I'll say, man, first of all, the atmosphere. I mean, I wasn't able to go. I knew some folks that went, and they were talking about how the atmosphere was just live, and on TV, it was like it felt like we were in Doak. And I mean, my kids watched the game with me, and they were like, man, it was like there's so many people there, and like the war chant was going, and man, it was crazy, crazy. And you could tell Brian Kelly was nervous about it because even before the game, he was talking to his little, I think it was the defensive coordinator, and he was like, yeah, I hope our guys settle in, and blah 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 blah. And it was like, man, you know what's coming, dog. You know what's coming. And FSU started, seemed like they started a little tense or something, man. I don't know. First play of the game, LSU rips off a huge play, just like they did in last year's game. And I'm just like, bruh, come on. And y'all know me, I'm a defender of Adam Fuller. And I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna make that easy, of course. But those guys bowled up there in the goal line, and yeah, got a turnover on downs. Oh, you were there, FSU, Tony? Oh, I mean, did you go to the tailgate? Any of the tailgates? But yeah, man, it was crazy. Got a turnover on downs, and then exactly what you need to happen. The FSU offense took advantage of that and went down and scored a touchdown to go up 7-0. So that's kind of what I've always been talking about as far as complementary football. If the defense gets a stop, the offense needs to take advantage of those opportunities. And so that first half is what I've been talking about the whole time. Everybody says, the success of the season is dependent upon the defense, and I'm like the only one out there saying that's not the case. It is solely dependent on the offense. If the offense shows up the way they showed up in the second half, they're not going to lose anybody. Just not. And I've always felt like the defense will be good enough. They'll get enough stops. If the offense is as good as we think it is, and in the second half you saw that. So got a big stop. Of course, LSU answers, and look, by the time this season is over, that LSU offense is going to be a top 10 offense. They finished top 10 last year. And so it's the first game. You got some new guys out there. You got a new secondary coach. I mean, guys, it's not going to be perfect. I know that it's not going to be perfect. And, you kind of got to grade this game on a curve because it's the first game, because of who you're playing. It's not like you playing, Miami of Ohio. I mean, you playing a team out there with some dudes on it. It's not like you got some scrubs out there at a wide receiver for LSU. It's not like Jaden Daniels that dude. I mean, he's arguably one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the country. You're not going to just hold those guys to, 1 or 2 yards of play. You're just not. And the crazy part is, if you go and look at it, if you remove the final play where LSU scored, which was in garbage time, and FSU had reserves on the field, they held LSU to 6.1 yards per play, which isn't great, by any means, but that is below what their average was last year. LSU's average per play last year was 6.3. So you arguably held them, to 6.1 yards per play. You forced a turnover on defense. You had multiple stops on fourth down. I think it was 2 fourth down stops, huge stops. And not only that, LSU was only 3 of 10 on third down. So 30% conversion rate, which we know last year LSU converted. I think it was 6 of 11 on third down last year. So, big time show from the defense there, especially in the second half too. I mean, they held LSU scoreless until that final play in garbage time. I mean, holding that offense to 17 points for 95% of the game. Now, granted, you could say, well, Brian Kelly could have 2 field goals instead of going forward and fourth down. But the rationale Brian Kelly has is he knows you're probably not going to hold this offense down very long. So he's like, I can't settle for 3 when I'm 2 yards away from the end zone. And with the guys I have, he felt confident that they will be able to get 1 or 2 yards. And I don't blame him. I would have went for it too. But the FSU defense made 2 plays and kept points off the board. And there you go. So I know some people were questioning Brian Kelly, which kind of brings me to the point that I was making. I made a video earlier. You can go back and look at it. And I asked the question if Mike Norvell was a better coach than Brian Kelly, and I basically referenced the last few times they've matched up. FSU's had lesser talented teams, but they could have beaten Notre Dame in 2021, who was a top 10 team. They did beat LSU last year and had less talent. Hey, what's up, T Murray 1578? I appreciate you checking us out, man. If you guys got any questions, let me know. I'm just rambling here for a second. But then this year, I said, these teams are pretty much equal in talent, as far as matchups. So looking at that, I felt like, Mike Norvell's outcoached Brian Kelly the last, 2 years. You could argue 3 years, going back to the 2020 game when FSU was a 20.5 point underdog, and it was a game in the third quarter. But I felt like with the talent being equal, that's when you would see the separator between those 2 coaches, and that's exactly what happened. FSU goes into halftime down 17-14. Comes out, they have to get points on that first drive. They settle for a field goal. Credit to Ryan Fitzgerald, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I was kind of watching. I was kind of watching like this, like, hey, dog. And he came through with the field goal, so that was good to see. Credit to that kid, man. That dude. He had a tough year last year, and actually rebounded during the year to finish up strong. So credit to him, and credit to the staff for sticking with him. But they also brought that competition in to make sure he put in the work to keep his job. But settle for 3, ties it up, and then the FSU defense just they just put the clamps on LSU, man. I thought there was a huge difference as far as physicality. Think back, man. If you guys have been watching FSU for a long time, look back to the last few years under the old regimes, Jimbo, Taggart, and just remember dudes, national media talking about how FSU was soft and how they, like defensively, they just, they weren't physical. You didn't see them imposing their will. And although FSU had, a lot of penalties, and I ain't even got into that yet, bro, that was ridiculous. This referees are awful. But just the fact that they were just willing to be physical and not let anybody bully them, man, that's a great sign. That's what you want. Now you want it to be a little, you want a little bit of, you want it to be under control a little bit better. Not have. There were a couple of legit penalties, like the one penalty on Ronaldo Green where he literally grabbed the dude's jersey, which was smart because he was beat. You had that, and then there was a couple other penalties, and but other than that, I thought it was ridiculous that LSU didn't have a penalty called on them until about 2 minutes have gone by in the third quarter. That's unbelievable. When they literally were holding the FSU defensive line. I mean, they were bear hugging those dudes. I mean, I retweeted last night. There was a clip where Braden Fisk broke through and the dude literally had him from behind and they didn't call it. And I was like, bro, what are we doing out here, man? Hey, what's up, 51D? Hey, appreciate you checking in, man. Sir 5, what's up? Appreciate you sharing. Yeah, make sure you guys like this, man, and get it out there. Share it with all you FSU fans. But yeah, the refs didn't make it easier in the first half, but in the second half, man, it felt like it was just. I said going into halftime, I tweeted this. I said, considering the referees, considering not taking advantage of the muffed punt, which we literally threw an interception one play after that. Oh, man, that was costly. That was costly, not taking advantage of that. Elite teams take advantage of those situations. Um, and then, being down 3 points going into halftime, I said, man, I feel we'll be okay as long as the offense makes the adjustments. Because it looked like Jordan Travis was rattled out there. He looked like the 2020 Jordan Travis for a little bit out there, man. I was like, what's going on, bro? Like, you throwing passes that, God, like, we got lucky a few times. That one pass he threw, he just threw it up in the middle of the field. It kind of just went up into the air, and I was like, man, what are you doing? That's a freshman mistake, and luckily, it didn't get intercepted. But credit to Jordan Travis, man. All the experience he has. They went into halftime, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but some of the guys went live in the locker room. I know I saw Johnny Wilson went live in the locker room, and you can hear Mike Norvell talking to the team afterwards, and he's talking about how he was proud of them. They needed to be more smart, not have so many penalties and all that. But he told them at halftime that they were going to score on every single opportunity that they had when they had the ball in the second half. And guess what? That's exactly what they did. They scored every single time they had the ball, aside from the final drive where they basically ran the clock out. They scored every time in the second half. I mean, it was a different team. It was like, they kind of, and we've seen this from Mike Norvell teams. It seems like they kind of go in at half, and I don't know what he does. Go back to the Louisville game from last year. Go back to the Clemson game. It feels like the second half, man. I don't know what they do in there, but they come out with a different mentality. And they just bullied LSU for the second half. I mean, they got back to the run game. That was one thing that I noticed. That's one of the keys to victory I wrote about. I said they need to establish a run game, which is going to be tough. And LSU's got a good defensive line. But they only ran the ball 11 times in the first half, opposed to 21 passes. I felt like they got a little pass happy there in the first half. But you saw in the first drive in the third quarter that Mike Norvell got back to the running game. And it's one of those things where if FSU can run the ball, then it's literally pick your poison. It's if they can run the ball, you got to commit to stopping the run. If you don't commit to stopping the run, they're just going to continue to maul you on the ground, right? Then if you bring a safety down on the box or whatever, do something to try to adjust to stopping the run, then you got Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell out there in one-on-one matchups. And you saw what happened. Keon Coleman is literally telling dudes like, hey, throw me the ball. I'm about to moss this dude. And that's exactly what he did for a touchdown. Matter of fact, he had 3 touchdowns. Johnny Wilson had 104 receiving yards, 2 terrible drops, so he would have had even more. And it's like you forgot about how good of a game Johnny Wilson had, mainly because of Coleman overshadowing him, and then also the 2 drops. Those 2 drops are just man, got to reel those in, baby. Got to reel those in, but also, he's gonna make the tough catches. So it's one of those things with Johnny Wilson where you just kind of live with it. He's gonna drop a few here and there, but he's gonna make some huge plays. So it was good to see Jaheim Bell rebound from that. He had a terrible drop also, and it was good to see them get him in the mix. With a touchdown, and also in the running game there. I know one of the reasons why he came to FSU was because he was frustrated at South Carolina with how they were using him in the offense. And, so it's one of those where, hey, here's a couple opportunities in the pass game. Here's an opportunity for you in the run game. You scored 2 touchdowns. You're happy. Saw Cal Morlock out there, caught a couple passes out there blocking. Got him involved. Man, what a game. What a game. Whew, that was incredible. And talking about impact. So you're in prime time. Last year, the narrative was, well, you got lucky. LSU gifted you the game. They missed the extra point. They don't give you credit for making the block, right? Um, Connie, Connie Roberson, no doubt. Man, I couldn't even go to sleep last night. Connie Roberson said she's just basking on this glorious day. No doubt, man. Thank you for checking in, Connie. Hey guys, hey, like this for me, man. If you haven't, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're gonna be doing more of this. I'll have some video breakdown of the game also. I had a couple for before the game, talking about how we could contain Jaden Daniels and things like that. So yeah, but yeah, man, it's crazy how people didn't want to give FSU credit for last year's win, but you can't do that this year. I mean, I saw a clip. I put it on the Chop Chat Twitter handle. I retweeted it. There was a couple of LSU guys, and I had listened to some of their stuff before the game, and they were one of the few outlets that I saw that they were legitimate. They weren't straight homers, right? It was like they knew FSU was a legit challenge, and they knew that it was going to be a game, unlike some of the LSU. Brian Kelly included, where you're talking about, he basically said that they were going to wreck FSU or whatever. Psych. But those LSU guys that I'm talking about, I mean, they literally, they gave FSU all the credit. They admitted that FSU was a better team. They admitted that FSU bullied LSU. They admitted that, hey, they're a problem. FSU's a problem, man. And so before this season, I talked about it. I made a video. I did a game by game predictions piece. You can check that out. Also, I said that basically it's a two game schedule. LSU, Clemson. There's nobody else on the schedule that should give these guys any problems. And I had FSU as a 60% chance to win the game. If I just knew they would execute, you got some new guys. You got Jaheim Bell, you got Keon Coleman, and Keon Coleman didn't get here in the spring. He got here in the summer, and so you just don't know how much of the offense he knows and all that good stuff. But if I had known that FSU would execute like they did in the second half, like I said, I'll put them up against anybody. I'll put them up against anybody. And it's crazy that FSU destroyed opponent ranked so highly. And again, it's preseason rankings. I said before the game, I don't know why LSU was ranked ahead of FSU, because they won the same amount of games last year. Actually, LSU lost one more game than FSU did, because they made it to the SEC championship game where they got smoked by Georgia. And so I just couldn't figure. I guess they beat Alabama, you could say that, but then they also lost to Texas A&M. So I was like, why are they even ranked ahead of FSU? So moving forward, it'd be interesting to see where FSU is ranked. Where do you guys think FSU will be ranked in the polls that come out? I guess later today or tomorrow. I'm thinking they got to be probably top 3, considering how the other teams in the top 5 didn't look great. And again, it's it's the first week, so you're going to expect some rust and things like that. But yeah, going back to T. Murray says number 3. Yeah, I don't argue with that. But going back to the schedule, Clemson at Clemson. We'll see what Clemson does tonight against Duke. I think they play at 8:00, so I'm gonna definitely be tuning into that game. But like I said, it'll be game 4 against Clemson. It's on the road. Again, on the road doesn't scare me. FSU went up there a couple years ago with a much lesser team and arguably should have won that game. Cade Klubnik could be in his 4th game with a new OC. I expect there'll probably be some growing pains with the offense, and I don't think Clemson has the wide receivers that LSU does to attack the FSU secondary the way that LSU did. Also, Klubnik, he can run, but he's not Jaden Daniels either. So if the defensive line plays the way they played last night, and I think Clemson believes their offensive line is better than it was last year, but I think FSU's defensive line is much better than last year and deeper too. You saw them rotating guys all over the place last night. Defensive line, linebacker. Omar Graham was in there on one of those goal line situations. So that he was in there in a real moment. So that was good to see also. But I like us at Clemson. I had us at a 65% chance of winning that game. And that's without seeing Clemson at all. Like I said, we'll get an idea of what they bring to the table tonight with Duke. And that game is at Duke. And I think they are 12.5 or 13-point favorites on the road, which, it's not, you're like, okay, well, and granted, it's the first weekend, so odds makers definitely had, they've gotten some things wrong, obviously. But we'll see what they have. But other than that, the only way FSU loses any other games is if FSU beats themselves. That's that. They have too much talent across the board against the other teams on the schedule. I saw some Miami people talking last night, in the first half. In the second half, they were real quiet. Florida, real quiet. And for good reason. They don't have enough firepower to beat FSU unless something drastically changes. You'll get a general idea of what Miami does whenever they play Texas A&M this coming on Saturday. I think that game's at 3:30, so I'll definitely be checking that out. But man, FSU's in an amazing spot. Even if they somehow lost to Clemson and then ran the table, they would more than likely get an opportunity to play for the ACC championship. So they're in an excellent spot to make a run to the college football playoff. Not only that, going into recruiting, you're talking about FSU coaches have pretty much wrapped up this 2024 class. There's probably like 6 or 7 top targets remaining. You're talking about Jeremiah Smith. Look, Jeremiah Smith had to look at the offense last night and be like, hey, bro, hey. And then looking at what Ohio State looked like without a quarterback on Saturday, hey, we'll see. We'll see. Another top target was Jamari Howard, cornerback. You gotta think that's impactful on him. I'm not sure if he went to the game, but if you watch the games, Zaquan Patterson from Miami, he had to look at that and was like, hey, those boys for real, man. Those boys for real. You had another one, LJ McCray. He is someone FSU got to have. And I think, it's reported that he was supposed to make the game. So you see in the defensive line eat like that. That's got to be huge on that recruitment. He's scheduled for an OV for the Virginia Tech game. By the way, I'm going to the Virginia Tech game. So if you're going, let me know. And, we can link up for that game. Wifey got me an early birthday ticket. So it's like, yeah, buddy. Then who else? There's the Miami commits, Artavius Jones. I don't know if he went to the game, but looking at that, you gotta like what you see. Josiah Trader, you gotta like what you see if you're looking at the FSU game. So look, they're in a great spot to take advantage of so many different things. This is exactly where you want to be if you're Mike Norvell. That was just an amazing game. So also for all of the ACC people that were talking smack about FSU wanting to leave the conference and all that good stuff. Look, you saw. I haven't seen the ratings yet, but I know. Hey, box office boys. Everybody was tuning into that game last night. FSU was trending before the game, and you're like, What are we talking about here? This is why FSU's demanding more money from this raggedy conference. T. Murray going to the Clemson game. Whoo! Man, I got a buddy I work with that graduated from there, and he's shown me video from there, and it's a live place. Should be a great environment to go to. Um, but yeah, great situation to be in, man. This is where you want to be if you're FSU. Um, hopefully, everybody got out of that game healthy. That was one of the big things too. You just hopefully everybody got out of that game healthy. Last year, we lost Fabian Lovett for the majority of the season, but I didn't hear anything about that as far as any major injuries or anything. So, T. Murray, you stayed 35 minutes from Clemson. Hey, man, it is kind of in the middle of nowhere, man. I was driving through South Carolina last year coming from Atlanta. And yeah, there's parts of South Carolina, boy. It's like, woo, for real, for real. But yeah, so man, I'm so excited to see where this program is gonna go. It's one thing to kind of study the program, just look at how they're building things and you kind of see the vision, right? And then it's another thing to actually see the vision take place. And I said it before the season, man. I was like, FSU they've improved on the defensive line. They've improved on the offensive line. And credit to the offensive line, 2 years in a row where they haven't allowed a single sack to LSU. Now, granted, some of that is because Jordan Travis is a wizard back there. But it's man, credit to the offensive line, the ability to establish the run game, after already battling for a whole half. Credit to those guys, man. There was a couple times where they had a couple of free rushers come through to allow tackle for a loss or whatnot. But other than that, man, Jordan Travis had a large amount of time to make throws down the field, and man, that's something we haven't been able to say for a long time. So just to go up against an SEC defense like that, that was awesome. And I haven't even looked to see what the yards per play average is for FSU's offense, but it's got to be, it's got to be something ridiculous. So, and there's no limit on what this team can do, I don't think. So, man, really excited to see what they do against Southern Miss. I think this game right here against Southern Miss will probably tell you a lot about this team too. Going back to, I'm not saying this team is 2013. I mean, that 2013 team is the best college football team of all time, in my opinion. The way that team that year, just, it didn't matter who they played. They went out there like they were the same opponent every week, aside from the Boston College game, of course. And they just steamrolled whoever they played. And we saw glimpses of that last year with FSU. I mean, they steamrolled Georgia Tech and they steamrolled Miami. They steamrolled Syracuse there in the latter half of the season last year. So, I mean, I'm expecting them to do the same thing with Southern Miss. Southern Miss didn't offer much. I kind of previewed them a little bit in my game by game predictions piece. All they had was Frank Gore Jr. as a running back. Shut him down, and we saw FSU was going to be stout against a traditional running game this year. And I said that last year. Everybody talking about, we got gashed against teams who got good offenses on the ground and all of this stuff. And I'm like, guys, you're not giving any context to it. Whenever Lovett wasn't in the game last year, you didn't see that much at all. So he'll be back. They've gotten better. They've gotten more talent, more depth. So I expect that to be a strength. It was. I mean, that's how you got to look at these things. You can't just look at them, without context, so to speak. So, So if FSU goes out there and handles business against Southern Miss the way I expect them to, and then of course they have Boston College. We got that sleepy noon kickoff. It'll set up another primetime opportunity to show what FSU is about whenever they play at Clemson in Week 4. So yeah. Yeah, I'm going to rewatch the game. I just wanted to come on here and hang out with you guys for a little bit. And I will try. This is my first time going live on the YouTube channel, so I will try to coordinate that effort better next time, as far as letting people know what I'm gonna do. And like I said, I had to write some content for the website earlier this morning, so I needed to get that done. And it was so late last night. Everybody else is probably going live with their channels and whatnot. So I was like, I'll just wait till tomorrow. But hey, man, if you guys don't have any other questions for me, I appreciate you tuning in. Like I said, we just started this channel, I think like 3 weeks ago. So if you haven't subscribed and you're an FSU fan, you definitely should. I think we do I do a good job of looking at things without a lot of emotion, and just giving it to you real, man. There's no agenda here. If someone does a good job, they did a good job. If they didn't, they didn't. And that's kind of how I look at it. Prime example was, I criticized Jerry and Jones last night for allowing that touchdown, and then there was a play later in the game where he made a play, and it's like, hey, good job. So yeah, it's all about just looking at things without any agendas. Not trying to sell no subscriptions, anything like that. We're just talking FSU football, as fans here. And so appreciate all of the support you guys are giving thus far, man. If you haven't subscribed, like I said, make sure you do that. Tell a friend what we do here on the Built for Playmakers YouTube channel. And I'll probably have a few videos for you guys this week. So again, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I got some other content I'll be writing for shopchat.com. You can find some more of our content there. You can also follow us on Twitter or TweetX or whatever you want to call it. We're always talking FSU on that platform also. And until next time, guys, we'll talk to y'all in the very near future. Go Noles.